church. It's great to be back here again with you. I hope that you're having a fantastic week so far. Today, we are continuing on in our series of character studies. So I want to talk to you today about Gideon. As we begin, let me share with you a little bit. I really enjoy watching different type of challenge competitions, whether it's American Ninja Warrior Challenge or CrossFit competitions or Beastmaster. Recently, I started watching the World's Toughest Race. I love watching people face different challenges, different types of battles, if you will. And I know it might seem kind of funny, but I love watching them take on different physical and mental challenges, seeing who will prevail and become the winner. A part of me watches and I wish that I could do half of what these people can do. These experiences that they have are incredible. Now, some of you know that I like to run and I like to bike, and I'm not amazing at either one of those things, but I do it because I enjoy beating my own times, and I really enjoy beating Pastor Clayton. Today, as we look at this guy named Gideon, we are going to see how he was called into a battle, one that he didn't sign up for. There's a couple of things that I need to point out. In the beginning of this story, you can read this on your own time. It's found in Judges chapter 6. And you will find that Gideon didn't feel qualified for the task that God was calling him to. See, God called to Gideon, and Gideon was hiding from his enemies. But God called him to lead the Israelites to victory over the Midianites. Gideon had also learned to trust God. Gideon had grown up with idol worship all around him, but God revealed himself to Gideon, and through some difficult situations, Gideon learned to worship the one true God. And this is where we pick up our story today in Judges chapter 7. Gideon is gathering an army to take on the Israelites' enemy, the Midianites. And as we read through this passage, I want us to focus on three main points. 1, it's not on our strength, but God. 2, be on your toes. And 3, God makes the impossible possible. So here we go in Judges 7 and verse 1. So Gideon and his army got up early and went as far as the spring of Harod. The armies of Midian were camped to the north of them in the valley near Moreh. The Lord said to Gideon, "You have too many warriors with you. If I let you, all of you, fight the Midianites, the Israelites will boast to me that they saved themselves by their own strengths. Therefore, tell the people who are afraid and timid that they may leave from this mountain and go home." So 22,000 of them went home, leaving only 10,000 who were willing to fight. As we just read, Gideon gathers all these men to fight in this battle. And then God says, "You have too many warriors." Now, just for you and your knowledge, the Midianites had an army that was very, very large. It is said that their army was about 135,000 or more men. That's a lot of men. And God tells Gideon that his army's too big. Send the ones that are afraid home. What? Doesn't that make you turn your head a little bit and think, what is God doing? But God gives Gideon this reason, the reason why he sent them home, because he doesn't want the men to take the glory for the victory. In our lives, there seems to be this constant struggle for the glory. I have this tank top that a friend of mine gave me, and it says this statement. It says, "Believe in yourself." And don't get me wrong, I wear this tank top and I think of my friends, and I think how awesome they are and I love them. But in our society, sometimes, even in our own mindsets, our thoughts of believe in yourself becomes too big. Sure, we need to have confidence in ourselves, but God has created you for great things. I tell my children this all the time, and even in our kids program, I tell them that God has created them for great things. But, yes, there's a but. Our strength comes from God. When we are weak, God is made strong. Your gifts, your talents, your abilities all come from God, and He alone deserves the glory. But in our human nature, we battle. Was that God or was that me? You know that feeling that you get, that high that you get, like you're undefeatable? When you get that job that you've been wanting, or the promotion that you've been wanting for a long time, or the house that's been on the market finally becomes yours. When you're able to help out a friend and give some great advice, or when you just receive some super amazing news. Who is getting that glory? My tank top would say me, but I know where my strength comes from, and I don't want to steal that glory. I know that I didn't do it on my own. And this is my first point. that it's not my strength, but God's. God alone deserves the glory in the victory. It's through his strength that we have the victory. Gideon in the previous passages just had taken down the idols that he had grown up with, and he's learning that God is always with him. So when God tells Gideon to send the men home so that they won't take the glory, Gideon understands this. He doesn't want to go back to their old ways, and he trusts where God is leading him. Let's continue on in verse 4. But the Lord told Gideon, "There are still too many. Bring them down to the spring, and I will test them too. Determine who will go with you and who will not." When Gideon took his warriors down to the water, the Lord told him, "Divide the men into two groups. One group put those who cup the water in their hands and lap it up into their tongues like dogs. The other group put all those who kneel down and drink with their mouths from the stream." Only 300 of the men drank from their hands. All the others got down on their knees and drank with their mouths in the stream. And the Lord told Gideon, "These 300 men, I will rescue you and give you victory over the Midianites. Send all the others home." So Gideon collected the provisions and the ram's horns and the other warriors and sent them home. But he kept the 300 men with him. This sounds absolutely crazy, doesn't it? The Midianite army had 135,000 men or more, and Gideon was left with only 300 men? Now, this second reduction of men is seen to be a mindset of strategy. See, God was looking for men who were sharp, who were ready for action. I want you to picture this in your mind with me. You have a group of men, they're going down to the river to drink. You know that the enemy army is close by you. Do you bend down and drink like a dog from the water, or do you lap it up with your eyes up, able to look around at what's going on? Do you see the difference here? As I've been studying this passage, it has reminded me of something that one of my coaches said. He used to tell me in volleyball, he said, "Be on your toes." And when you're on your toes, this allows you to move, and it allows you to move quickly with little hesitation. So when these men are lapping up the water, they're on their toes. They're not willy-nilly about what they're about to enter into. They're ready for battle. So Gideon is now down to 300 men, and now they're really up against impossible odds. This is this tension that we should be in, this tension that we should be living in. When we're on our toes, when we're ready in anticipation, the odds are against us, but our confidence is in Jesus, because it is in our weakness God is able to display his glory. Let's continue on in verse 8. Here's when we start to get really into the really cool part of the story. The Midianite camp was in the valley just below Gideon. That night, the Lord said, "Get up and go down to the Midianites' camp, for I have given you victory over them. But if you are afraid to attack, go down to the camp with your servant, Porah. Listen to what the Midianites are saying, and you will be greatly encouraged. Then you'll be eager to attack." So Gideon took Porah, and they went down to the edge of the enemy camp. And the army of Midian, Amalek, and the people of the east had settled in the valley like a swarm of locusts. Their camels were like the grains of the sand and the seashore, too many to count. Gideon crept up just as the men were telling his campaign about a dream. The man said, "I had this dream, and in my dream a loaf of barley bread came tumbling down onto the Midianite camp, and it hit the tent and it turned over and it knocked it flat." His companion answered, "Your dream can only mean one thing. God has given Gideon, son of Joash, the Israelite, victory over Midian and its allies." When Gideon heard the dream and its interpretation, he bowed and worshiped before the Lord. Then he returned to the Israelite camp and shouted, "Get up, for the Lord has given you victory over the Midianite hordes." And he divided the 300 men into 3 groups and gave each man a ram's horn and a clay jar with a torch in it. Then he said to them, "Keep your eyes on me. When I come to the edge of the camp, do just as I do. And as soon as I and those with me blow the ram's horn, and blow your horns too, and all around the entire camp, and shout, for the Lord and for Gideon. And it was just after midnight, after the changing of the guard, when Gideon and the 100 men with him reached the edge of the Midianite camp. Suddenly they blew the ram's horn and broke their clay jars, and the three groups blew their horns and broke their jars, and they held the blazing torches in their left hands and their horns in their right hands, and they all shouted, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon!" Each man stood at his position around the camp and watched as the Midianites rushed around in panic, shouting. As they ran to escape, the 300 Israelites blew the ram's horn, and the Lord caused the warriors in the camp to fight against each other. With their swords, those who were not killed fled to places as far as Bashitha and Zazira and the border of Almorha near Tabeth. This is our third point. God makes the impossible possible. Gideon started out hiding and ended up doing just as God had called him to do. God had anointed Gideon to go into battle to fight. God takes extraordinary odds to show his authority, his sovereignty, and ultimately his great love for his children. Those men and women that I enjoy watching struggle through difficult situations and different challenges, they're trying to battle on their own strength. They're trying to conquer these tasks all on their own. As we look at this story, we can clearly see all along that God is with Gideon. In verse 10, God tells Gideon that if he's afraid, to go to the enemy camp and see what they are saying. And when he's there, Gideon overhears this dream. The dream from his enemy only solidifies Gideon's confidence in God, that God is with him and that he will have victory. Maybe as you're listening today, you feel like you've been going through a battle and that you're facing a battle. Well, I want to encourage you today that God is with you. Your battle may look different from Gideon's. Maybe for you, it's addictions or cancer or lifestyle issues. Maybe it's depression. Maybe it's health issues. Maybe you're fighting for your family, or maybe you're battling fear or employment. Maybe you're battling to stay pure. These situations, these battles that can seem impossible for us to conquer on our own, with God, all things are possible. Let me wrap up with this. There's a song that we sing sometimes, and I find it very fitting for today, and it goes, "This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you." See, this song paints such a powerful picture for me. When the enemy is close and I feel as though I'm surrounded and I can't continue on, God has me covered. There's no place that I can go where God is not with me. Just as Gideon was getting ready to go into the battle, God understood his fears. God was right beside him, offering him peace, offering him guidance and comfort. When you feel like you're not qualified for the task at hand, when you feel like that battle is too much to bear, I want to encourage you that you can have confidence that you're not on your own, and it's not your own strength, but it's God's strength. God is with you through anything that life throws your way. And I want you to know that as you grow in your walk with the Lord, that there are going to be times that you will need to be on your toes. You are going to need to be ready for action to follow wherever God is leading you. And lastly is that you can trust that God is faithful in all that he does, that nothing is impossible for him. Let me pray for you today. Lord God, we just thank you so much for my friends, and I thank you for those that are listening. Lord, I pray that you would just be with them today. I pray that you would help them as they're going along their way with their walk. And as we face these battles, as we face these different situations, Lord, I pray that you would just give them confidence. Lord God, that they would be able to see you moving and working around them, Lord God, and that they would just be able to reach out to you. Lord God, that they would know that they are never alone. Lord God, we thank you so much for your word, and we thank you for Gideon. In your name, amen.